And so we'd like to welcome you to this very engaging and I think very on point conversation sponsored by Cornerstone University SOAR program today. And the title of our presentation is Humans Wanted, Leading in the Age of Automation, Why Leadership Development is the top talent strategy of the next 5 years. And I'm really excited to have our panelists today. We have some really exciting thought leaders that have come to us to share information on this topic. And so we have Kevin Stotts from TalentFirst, president, and he will be talking here just shortly. We have Reed Goff, who is one of our tech experts here, and we'll be hearing from him in a little bit and sharing from his thought process. We have Jayme Isley from Gordon Food Service, HR executive from the Carolina region, and Dr. Kevin Hall, who is also with Cornerstone University and one of our SOAR business professors, and also in another area of the Cornerstone University, and we'll be giving more of introductions individually on each of these individuals as they present to you today. So I'm very excited to welcome all of them. I am thrilled that they could be here with us today and sharing information on this important topic. And why is this topic so important? Well, all of us have heard about AI, the good, the bad, the difference about this topic and how it's affecting our workforce today. And we all hear how it may be taking over our jobs, how it is affecting what does this mean for development within our workforce and the ability to think about our workforce in terms of advancing them into the future. And so it's very prevalent. And Kevin Stotts was saying that even there was an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal about how this is affecting the job prospects of the generation, the young generation coming into the workforce today, and what does that mean for advancement into middle management. And so I think it's very on point, and we need to be able to understand how do we work alongside this automation, and what does this mean for us in our future in the industries that we are all a part of. And so I hope today that as each of these individuals talk about this, that we can walk away from this conversation with understanding how do we as leaders in our organizations prepare for learning how to walk alongside automation in this area. How do we lead the individuals in our organizations? How do we prepare them to lead the humans we have today while incorporating this automation and be ready to upskill them and give them what they need to lead their colleagues and prepare their colleagues for what is going to happen in the future, because as we know, AI and the era of automation that we know it now is not going to go away, right? We need to learn how to work alongside it and prepare for it as we move forward. So I think it's a very on-point conversation, and I'm thrilled to be able to have this conversation with you all and our guest panelists. So with that, I am going to turn it over to, oops, excuse me, Kevin Stotts, president at TalentFirst, and we will get started. So Kevin, you are up, my friend.
Great. Well, thank you, Lisa, for the opportunity. I was looking forward to being a part of this conversation today and learning from the other panelists on the topic. We at TalentFirst are a CEO-led effort in West Michigan working on talent strategy for the region with the goal of making the region a top region for talent in the nation. So we work with business leaders across West Michigan as well as education workforce leaders to say, how do we work together to address the talent needs of the region's employers, because we believe that employment, job growth, helping our employers succeed is key to driving the economic vitality and allowing individuals to thrive across the region. And so conversations like this are really kind of key because it's really kind of what we do, looking at the data research and insights and solutions to different topics facing employers. And AI is one that is really sort of driving a lot of dialogue. This morning, we had a group of a dozen manufacturers around a table looking at our labor force projections for the region. And as I was telling the panelists before we started, I think about 25-30% of the dialogue we had on the labor force data was the impact of automation in terms of job roles as well as protections around data security, et cetera. So it's really quite fascinating of how often this is becoming a topic of conversation as far as planning for business leaders. And so I'm going to just set the stage for the rest of the conversation, and the panelists are going to follow me. So next slide there, Lisa. So for West Michigan, and I think this is true, it might be off by a percentage or two based on the regions of the country, because we have others on the call. But for us in West Michigan, about 23% of the workforce is going to be retiring. Um, that's a pretty significant portion, obviously, of the current workforce. And by industry, it may vary. It could be the hourly workforce, it could be the salaried workforce, but on average, about 23% of the workforce is going to be exiting the labor force in the next 5 to 10 years. And some interesting facts about the folks over 55. You would presume that most people are going to be retiring at 65 or 67, but they begin retiring at 52, and by 55, the majority of those folks who are 55 or older have already retired. So oftentimes there's a perception is, oh, I'm going to retire, my workforce is going to retire at 65, 67. And in fact, they're already retiring. And so you need to be taking that into account as you're thinking about your workforce planning, and not just the entry level workforce you're bringing on, but middle management and also your key roles. I'm going to talk about that in a moment as well. For West Michigan, the retirement issue is also compounded by low migration and low birth rates. This is really kind of common around the country as well. But so the supply of talent coming into the labor market over the past 20 years has not been enough to keep pace with those retirements. And so you have really sort of a difficult, tight labor market that employers are entering into. Therefore, there's fewer job seekers. And I talked about sort of the skilled jobs in the workforce. The 55 or older population in the workforce today really dominate those skilled occupations, be it the trade or in a position of sort of management or leadership in organizations. And so the risk for employers is losing the knowledge and skills. And we'll have some points in terms of thinking about that as far as strategies that I think will connect to the next speakers. So next slide real quick. This is just going to illustrate, there's been ups and downs in the labor market, and certainly we had, as a result of COVID, a pretty large number of people who are looking for work. But after the COVID recovery occurred, it's been really difficult for employers to find talent. And so we use this slide to really communicate to employers is if you have talent, if they're producing, if they're valuable employees, your first talent strategy needs to be investing in them. Because you can see in the far right end of the chart, the number of job seekers and job openings has increased just a little bit, but it is still incredibly tight. So again, your first strategy as an employer around talent needs to be retaining and upskilling and developing your top performers and moving them up into greater roles and responsibilities. Next slide, Lisa. Something specific to this topic in AI that we're seeing, and this is kind of a trend across all industries at all different levels, but especially that entry-level workforce, is the growth and demand for durable skills. Think about soft skills, 21st century skills, as they were referred to not too long ago. We like to refer to these as durable skills because they're needed at every level of occupation, entry level, middle skill, or even management or leadership. Certainly the competencies are different, but they're all required. And what oftentimes we hear employers, we heard that this morning, is employers will teach people the technical skills, but if they don't have the capacity for problem solving, working in teams, strong communication skills, they're really at a disadvantage of being able to grow within the organization. So, be it programs like SOAR and other initiatives at the K to 12 and post-secondary level, emphasizing developing these competencies is really kind of key as an education partner, but also as individuals really wanting to see them succeed in progressively important roles within the organizations. And then finally, I think this is my last slide to kind of set the stage for the dialogue. Um, so what do employers do? We think it breaks down into two categories. For the organization's knowledge transfer, you're facing all of these different retirements. You have to have a plan for sort of accumulating that knowledge within the organization so it doesn't walk out the door in a year, 2, 3, or 5 years. And harnessing that data, there's a lot of really cool strategies and ways employers can be doing that using technology or mentorships or on the job training or internal training programs. So that's what the organization can do. And then on the flip side, it's the individual. And so we talk about upskilling and really investing in people in their training and development. So they're accumulating more skills. You're keeping them in the organization because the cost of replacing them is so great. It's much less expensive with a greater ROI to invest in your talent today. Now, the interesting thing with AI, we were talking about it this morning, is how it is replacing some job functions. And so as a result, you have some positions are seeing a blending of AI as augmenting the different job functions a person has. And other times it's redeploying, say, an FTE to a different part of the organization because they've been able to automate. But all the while, what's happening is this accumulation of greater and greater knowledge and skill requirements, and those durable skills, in order to be competitive in the labor market. So it's a kind of a really kind of complex situation employers are walking into today in terms of talent planning. But there's all kinds of great opportunities. But it first starts with what we describe as strategic workforce planning, really understanding the needs of business, making a plan, knowing your workforce, knowing what your future needs are going to be, and knowing who your talent partners are in education and workforce development who can help you meet those current and forecasted talent needs that you have. So certainly AI is going to have a big effect on those plans. But the point of the title of this seminar being sort of humans required, that's definitely the case. We're seeing that as I showed you in those the growth of those durable skills. So looking forward to being a part of the conversation today. So thanks, Lisa.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. One of the things I would encourage you all, if you have questions, again, for any of our panelists as we go through, please do, reach out in the comment section or in the chat area. So, McKenna, I'll just ask any questions out there at this time before we continue forward.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, we will continue forward then with our next panelist, which is Reed Goff, who is our VP of Academic Innovation and also Professor of Business Innovation here at Cornerstone University, and an individual who is a part of our new SOAR program as well. So Reed, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Kevin, for setting the stage. I know we value talent first as part of our workforce preparation strategy to make sure our students are prepared when they go out into the workforce. So really appreciate the work you're doing at Talent First. So what I want to talk to you about today is a tsunami, a wave so powerful, so fast moving, it will ultimately reshape industries, economies, and the very nature of work itself. And that wave is artificial intelligence. And we see it all the time in the papers every day. you open a paper, you read something, watch the news, and you're seeing a headline, and the headlines are loud, they're bold, and basically the message is AI is coming for our jobs. And almost everyone I talk to in business, whether it's an employee or a business owner, they're worried about the job, what their job looks like and how it's going to shape the nature of their workforce. So this is top of mind for most people. But what if the conversation we're having is wrong? What if the real story isn't about replacement, but it's about reinvention? And that's really what I want to talk to you about today is reinvention versus replacement. First, let's level set. Again, you see all these big headlines, all these jobs are going to be replaced. And these numbers can sound scary if we don't add nuance to them. So the World Economic Forum projects that nearly 60% of workers will need reskilling or upskilling within the next 5 years. And Goldman Sachs at the same time is saying that AI could touch the work of up to 300 million jobs worldwide. That's pretty scary. Those are huge numbers. But this is where we get into the nuance. What the headlines miss is that in the US, only about 2.5% of jobs are at high risk of disappearing entirely. What's really happening and where these numbers are coming from is that on average, if you look at any job, on average, about 20 to 30% of the tasks within that job are repetitive enough to be automated. So it's not the whole job can be automated in most cases. It's tasks within that job can be automated on average 20 to 30%. So this doesn't mean that jobs are going to entirely vanish. It means that the work is being reshaped and reinvented. Now, I'm not Pollyanna enough to say some jobs won't be eliminated. We're seeing that. We're seeing that, as Lisa mentioned earlier, with recent college graduates, some of the jobs that are very repetitive and redundant are being automated. But generally speaking, it's not as bad as people are talking about if you have the right strategy. Executives know this too. 86% of leaders believe new skills are required in an AI-powered workplace. They're recognizing that. But the scary part is, and what could really hurt organizations and individuals, is that only 14% of companies are actually providing that training today that's going to prepare the workforce for tomorrow. So the real challenge right now isn't AI replacing people. The challenge is helping people learn how to use AI to create greater value for themselves and their organization. So what happens when companies implement AI without preparing their people, which we're seeing they're doing? So a recent report from MIT just came out talking about companies that piloted AI in their organizations, and a staggering 95% of the AI pilots have failed. And what they find is that they didn't fail because the technology didn't work. They failed because the people and processes were not ready to implement that technology and the AI strategy. Um, but there's good news. Then you flip it, and those companies that did train their workforce, that did prepare their workforce for the AI implementation, are seeing up to a 10x ROI for every dollar invested. So they're seeing huge returns on their investment when they appropriately prepared their workforce. So the difference is not AI tools. That's not where things are going to be won and lost. It's really in workforce readiness. But this is where companies are diverging. You're seeing two different mindsets, one with the scarcity mindset in organizations and one with an abundant mindset in organizations. So some view AI as a cost cutter. How can we automate and eliminate jobs? And that's a scarcity mindset, right? It reduces humans beings to just being expenses on a balance sheet. And I believe it severely limits what the potential and AI can actually do. So while these companies will probably become more efficient, I believe they're missing the bigger opportunity. The real winners are going to be those organizations who see AI as an accelerator and an amplifier. So these are the companies that are asking, how can AI help my people think bigger, move faster, create more value? So they're not using AI to replace human potential, they're using it to unleash it. And that's the key differentiator. You have to decide in your organization which mindset are you gonna bring to the table. And I'll just give you an example. A scarcity-minded company in retail would you replace their customer service reps with AI bots. Yeah, they've reduced costs, and now they're running their customer service using AI bots. great cost reduction. An abundant-minded company will look, they're gonna have chatbots or AI bots answer simple questions, provide some frontline service and communication, but they are going to retrain and reskill their customer service reps to provide a more custom experience, build deeper relationship with clients, provide white glove experiences for their customers, and that organization is going to grow. The other one may stagnate. And that brings me to the human side of the equation, really what Kevin was talking about. So while AI automates routine and repetitive tasks of a job, this is where human skills rise in value. These durable skills, they're not soft skills, are indispensable in this new age. So I'm going to touch on 4 key skills that AI will not replace anytime soon, and that organizations really need to focus on in building in their company. One is emotional intelligence. So AI can analyze data, but it can't build relationships. Only humans connect with empathy and lead with understanding. So the emotional intelligence skills are extremely important. Creative problem solving. AI can optimize, refine, automate, but it takes human imagination to create new ideas, solutions, and breakthroughs. AI is great at, helping brainstorm, but humans are the ones who actually come up with those wonderful ideas and implement them. Ethical decision making. So AI can weigh probabilities, but it cannot weigh company values, personal values. Only humans ensure decisions align with the integrity, the context, and also common sense. And then strategic thinking is the fourth one that's extremely critical. So AI can process information at scale, but only humans can provide the vision, the foresight, and the ability to communicate and adapt in uncertain times. So these are 4 key areas that AI, again, is not going to replace anytime soon. Let me just give you an example. So when Netflix pivoted from DVDs to streaming, they didn't just retrain on new tools, they retrained the logistics teams to think like data scientists and analyze viewing behavior and shaping the content strategy. So they didn't replace their logistics team. They reskilled them and reinvented their jobs. I know we have a lot of HR people on this call, and you can think about how AI right now can screen thousands of resumes in minutes, but it can't inspire a candidate to come work for you. It cannot convince a talented employee to stay with you. That takes human leadership, culture, and a mission. So while AI identifies a talent, are the ones who develop and retain that talent. So AI won't replace us, it elevates us if we let it. So how do we close this learning gap? And we really need an education revolution, and you really need to think about how you deliver education and education strategy for your organization. The old model of learn once and work forever is gone. Today's skills have a half-life of just a few years. The more technical skills are a couple of years, and I just read something about marketing, it's less than a year. So what you mastered 5 years ago may already be obsolete. And the future belongs to those organizations that make learning continuous, where development is not a one-time occasional event, but part of the daily workflow. So there's 4 key areas you should be looking at to create a strong learning ecosystem in your organization. Micro-learning. These are short, on-demand sessions that deliver just-in-time skills without pulling people away from their jobs. An example of this, a sales team might go through a module to learn how to use AI to enhance their customer experience with their clients. Micro learning is extremely important. Peer-to-peer teaching. IT cannot own AI. This is a company-wide, this is an organization-wide, this has to be built into the culture. And some of the best learnings happen from peer to peer. So employees share what they know with each other. They turn every team into both learners and teachers. So they're sharing, they're identifying, and they're being creative and collaborative with each other. And I've seen agencies who have small teams who have these learning communities, and they've done amazing things as far as productivity and generating new ideas and new processes. It's exciting to see when that collaboration happens. University partnerships are becoming more and more critical in this new world of continuous learning. And there is still tremendous value in earning an accredited degree, which allows you to advance in an organization. But many universities, including Cornerstone, are partnering more closely with corporations to develop custom curriculum, to develop micro credentials, to develop certification programs, being very much more responsive to employer needs and employee needs. So that's a critical partnership there. And then ultimately, when you look at your strategy, looking more around a skills-based career mapping approach, where you're shifting away from these rigid job ladders to dynamic skill portfolios or stackable credentials. I know the stackable credentials have been around for a while with the promise of really disrupting education. But I believe now with the rapid approach of AI and how it's disrupting companies and how fast the skills are going to have to change, these stackable credentials are going to be much more important going forward. And then where do you start? So what I provided is a 6-month action roadmap. You don't need to be Amazon or Netflix. You need to start small and build momentum. It's a simple framework to follow. The first step, month 1 and 2, audit and assess. Begin by closely looking at your job descriptions and look at which tasks can AI take over through automation and which tasks can AI actually amplify to make people more effective. At the same time, assess your team's AI readiness. Where are the skills strong and where are their gaps? I would say pick a repetitive task, even with if you're in HR, pick a repetitive task with HR, build a cross-functional team, and develop a workflow that would automate or augment that job. And this will give you the roadmap for what comes next. Month 3 and 4, pilot and partner. Launch small targeted AI pilots. Don't try to transform the entire organization at once. Test, learn, and adapt. And to do this, partner with IT and your leadership team to put the guardrails in place early on. So the system, security, policies, governance need to be part of the foundation before you start any AI activity, not an afterthought. And then finally, month 5 and 6 is scale and skill. Scale what's working, take what you've learned and scale it. Roll out AI literacy across the organization so everyone understands how to use these tools and are speaking the same language. Also redefine your success metrics, not just for productivity, but for how humans and AI work together. I mean, there's going to be a day where you have human managers managing agents, AI agents. So it's going to look a lot different. You need to provide the skills for that. And most importantly, though, build reskilling into every career path. Make sure employees see a future for themselves in this new world of work. So this AI tsunami is real. It's powerful, but it doesn't decide our future. AI is going to set the pace of change, but human learning is going to decide who wins. That's why the first step is not waiting for a perfect strategy or a huge monetary investment. It's to start small, launch pilots, build learning muscles that today that's going to prepare you for tomorrow. The future is not going to belong to organizations with the flashiest tools or the smartest algorithms. It's just not. It's going to belong to those organizations that help their people grow as fast as the technology is advancing. So I would say the tsunami wave is creating the wave, but you're going to decide how you ride that wave as an organization.
Great. Thank you so much, Reed. I think, what you are sharing is so powerful and helps us kind of get over that fear, right? Of you're putting an action plan together and sharing that for how we can really incorporate and bring A alongside of us. And that's really helpful and key. So thank you so much for those thoughts and the wisdom behind that. McKenna, how are we doing in our chat? Any questions at this point?
Yeah, so the only question that we have right now is from John, and he was just wondering if this presentation will be sent out.
Yes, I think we can perhaps accomplish that. I would ask if Kimberly Mitchell, our Director of Communications, is still with us. That is a question we can pose to Kimberly. Kimberly, are you with us still?
I sure am. We will be editing this and posting it to YouTube. My only challenge is getting it to everyone. So I think what I'll do is I will drop in my LinkedIn profile into the chat, and you can either friend me on LinkedIn or drop your email into the chat to make sure that we can get that to you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks,
And
Kimberly.
then we also have a question from Anita, and Reed, this is probably for you. Do you have a plan to train the leaders first? What should we ourselves be focused on now to become experts?
Yeah, I think so that's a good point. The leaders, yes, you should absolutely get trained up on AI, but I don't think you have to be experts in AI. I think you have to be experts in understanding how AI can be used to, again, to augment or automate how, how you implement it from a cultural perspective, how some of those, less tech, you're gonna have to know less tech. You're gonna have to understand the tools, what they can do, but be outcomes focused. Okay, that's what I would say. Work backwards because there's all kinds of tools out there, and what I've seen, what we're seeing, and what I just talked about, all the tools are effective depending on what you want the outcome to be, but you have to have very clear outcomes. So I would get into the micro learning, right? Take a 10-minute module, go on YouTube, go on, Udemy. I mean, there's a whole bunch of resources out there that in Cornerstone, we're actually developing an AI, an introductory AI course for leaders. So that's a great question.
Great. Any other questions for us, McKenna, at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll keep the questions coming. We love to have you answer and be engaged. So now I'm going to bring in our next guest panelist, Miss Jayme Isley, who is the Regional HR Manager from Gordon Food Service. And I'm really excited for her to share the experience she has had actually with the Cornerstone SOAR program and how that is making a difference with upskilling and preparing the employees at Gordon. So Jayme, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. So I'm representing Gordon Food Service and really share how this partnership with Cornerstone through the SOAR program is helping us invest in our people and build leadership pathways for the future. So echoing what Reed had said and what Kevin had said, like many in our industry, we are faced with familiar challenges. And for us, retention and growth aren't just HR buzzwords, they're business critical. So when we keep our people and grow them, orders get filled correctly, customers are satisfied, and really we just build loyalty at every level of the organization. And so let me first start by framing some of the challenges that we're facing specifically at GFS. We'll bump to the next slide, Lisa. Just kidding, one more slide.
Okay.
We were ready. So like many in our industry, challenges are pretty much within these three. So turnover and frontline retention, the need to grow or upskill our future leaders, and succession pipeline gaps. We've heard earlier in the presentation that people are retiring early. All of that business knowledge is leaving with them. And so what are we doing for our existing workforce to allow them to feel equipped to navigate the scenarios that they're going to be dealing with on a daily basis? And so these are really the realities that pushed us to looking at new solutions as an organization. And really, if we don't address them, they directly impact our ability to serve our customers, scale our business, and retain our great people. And so that's where SOAR came in. And I'll share how our journey got started in the next slide. Thank you. So similarly to what Reed mentioned earlier, we started small and addressed our employees' readiness. So our SOAR journey didn't really start with a big announcement. We began as a beta test, which was just with a small group of employees. And so that feedback from that group has been invaluable. They loved the flexibility and the ability to learn from their phones. Like we've talked about earlier, we need to adapt to the way that our new generation, or really how we are learning too as adults, and being able to have the flexibility to do this on their own time. So this just confirmed to us that this was something worth scaling. And with these lessons, we officially launched in May of this year in 2025. And today we have multiple employees across numerous departments, from transportation to sales, that are enrolled and progressing through their first terms. We'll move to the next slide. With that foundation in place, I'd love to highlight one of our early participants. So like I mentioned, our participants are spread across multiple functions. So we have warehouse, transportation, sales, administration, and that mix matters to us as an organization because leadership isn't just confined to managers. We need leaders at every level of the organization, and SOAR has really helped us to do that. And so I wanted to highlight one of our stories. One of our employees, Rachel, really brings that to life. She's a single mom of two who recently transferred 30 credits into SOAR. So in her earlier life had started a nursing program and quickly decided that that was not for her. And based on her credits, she's able to be a sophomore. And when I asked her about what some of her key learnings were, some of her key takeaways, and how she applies that into everyday life, she mentioned habit stacking, which I thought was a really cool thing that she's learned recently. She said that she's now looked at her habits as a working mom and how she can transfer that into it being applicable to learn. And so she said in the morning she liked to watch videos or listen to music. And so she's now changed that into watching videos while she's getting ready in the morning. On her commute into work, she would listen to music, maybe listen to a podcast. Now she transferred that over to listening to podcasts from her classes. And at the end of the day, she's able to spend time with her family and then save her readings and writings for the evening. She said it's literally woven into her daily life, which I thought was so cool. What a powerful message that is really paying off for our employees. And I had to give her a kudos because I was really proud of her. So she was recently earned a promotion to our marketing team. She shared that SOAR has really allowed her to do that. She used her business communications class, which gave her the skills and confidence to present herself in the interview well and to share why she would be the best person for the role. So I love that direct connection to upskilling our employees. And this happened within her first month or two of her being in the program, which is incredible. So that's business development and leadership development in real time. So Rachel's story shows the individual impact. Now I'd like us to connect what this means for Gordon Food Service as a whole. We'll move to the next. Oh, look at Lisa's ready. So like I mentioned, retention, when employees feel valued, when they see a future, they stay. Internal mobility, strengthening, promote from within culture. This is deeply defined in who we are as a family-owned company, but also for our newer employees to be able to see this in real time. This investment has been 100% worth it. And then building succession or building that bench strength at every level of the organization. So SOAR isn't a degree program. It's a cultural signal, and that we believe in you enough to invest in your future. And Rachel is a great example of that, but we have countless stories of employees who've really committed to their development, both personally and professionally. And she's not waiting for leadership to come later. She's living it right now. And for my key insight as I leave you, leadership isn't just for managers, it's for every level of the organization. And so SOAR has really made that happen for us as an organization, and putting forth an affordable, flexible education in the hands of working adults that otherwise might not see themselves as future leaders. So for Gordon Food Service, this partnership is about future-proofing our workforce, building culture, and showing employees that a future is here, and here with them at Gordon Food Service. So when people see a future with you, they choose to stay, grow, and lead. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this, and for Gordon Food Service to be a part of this. And I hope this inspires other leaders to make this investment in their people as well.
Great. Thank you, Jayme. And I apologize there. My fingers got a little jumpy at the end.
That's okay. We're all excited. So that is a-okay.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. And thank you for sharing that testimonial from Rachel. I know she was very excited about her promotion, and, she's really gaining so much from the program. And Gordon has been a wonderful partner with Cornerstone in the SOAR program from the very beginning. So thank you for your support and generosity on sharing that and being a part of the conversation today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we want to hear now from Dr. Kevin Hall, who is our Associate Vice President for Academics and Student Experience here at Cornerstone University. And Kevin, you're going to share a little bit more with us about the importance of retention, as Jayme was even saying, for an organization, and what that means in terms of leadership and development. So I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone's really just set me up for success in my section. First of all, let me just say thank you for that testimonial. As a professor, you don't always get to hear the impact. And so it's really cool that habit stacking actually comes from the course that I teach in SOAR. And so it's really neat to hear that that's making an impact on people's lives. And so thank you for that testimonial. So,
Yes.
all right, let's jump right in.
If I could, Kevin, just before you start, I should ask if there are any questions at all out there before Kevin gets started, because his is going to be very impactful as well. So McKenna, any questions before Dr. Hall gets started?
No questions. Kevin can rock and roll.
All right, let's go, Kevin.
All right, so what's the problem that we have here? The problem is, one of them is retention. And so, or really the lack of retention, right? It's a key organizational outcome that our inputs and processes, or our inputs and throughputs, must address. So the retention is the outcome or the output, and we have inputs and throughputs that lead us to that. And so one thing to remember is retention is not simply about reducing the rate of turnover, which already was mentioned, that costs lots of money, it costs lots of time, but it also costs team cohesion, team culture. But retention is also about keeping employees engaged and satisfied. So it's not just about losing them, but it's about keeping them in such a way that you're increasing the effectiveness and productivity of those employees. Some research is showing that the #1 operational priority for organizations is retaining talent, which is ahead of revenue. It was asking about revenue, and they were not saying it was about revenue. It was about retaining talent, which then, of course, has an impact on revenue. And so, and then another study showed that 50% of organizations agree that retention is their top priority. So what do we have going on? We have a lot of turnover in organizations. 1 in 5 organizations has a turnover rate of 30%. And then you may not be that high, but likely you may not be far behind, because half of organizations have a turnover rate of at least 15%. And so you probably fit into one of those categories. The groups that are most likely leaving their jobs, more than 50% of those leaving jobs, are Gen Z and millennials, which also make up the greatest number of people in the workforce with Gen X. So, but employees with career development options are 34% more likely to stay. So we have a lot of turnover. We have a lot of people leaving the workforce to look for different jobs, and they're leaving your organization. But those that can see some career mobility, there's options for them to develop, are 34% more likely to stay. And so what can we do is the next slide. So what can we do as well? We need to develop and train employees. This allows them to see advancement. That acts as a motivational tool. They actually get to feel that sense of career mobility. And research shows that when there's career opportunities available, employees stay longer, but they're also more loyal to the organization. So they feel a connection to the organization, not just to stay, but to be loyal to it. It also allows employees to feel and be more successful in their roles. As they get to be developed, they actually just become better at their jobs. And so this provides not only a sense of satisfaction because of their contribution, but they're actually making a greater meaningful contribution. So what really drives employee engagement long-term? It's not perks and benefits. So perks and benefits can be effective for attracting people to an organization. Of course, perks and benefits and pay, people are there for a job, but we find in research that people are there for more than a job. And so what really drives long-term employee engagement is not the perks and benefits, but the major factor of employee satisfaction and engagement really is leadership and culture. And so that's where I like to say leadership matters. And so we'll go to the next slide and talk a few things about leadership matters. A toxic culture, Reed mentioned culture a little bit ago, a toxic culture, which is ultimately a leadership problem, is the strongest predictor of attrition. So research shows it's 10 times more important, culture is, than compensation. in predicting turnover. So that's where I say what really drives long-term engagement. It's not that compensation. It's not those perks. It's culture is one of the main predictors of turnover, 10 times more than those perks and benefits. So again, leadership matters. Gallup surveys, multiple different years have indicated that at least 70% of employee engagement and retention is driven by direct managers. So people saying, I'm leaving, why are you leaving? It's because of their leader. And so leadership matters. People leave organizations because of leadership. And so millennials, we make up the greatest percentage of the workforce. Gen Z, though, is entering at super high rates. The Gen X group is at this steady decline while this Gen Z grows. One thing to note is Gen Z in particular have a strong focus on career growth and job security. They want that career mobility. Millennials, they tend to want this work-life balance, but they also desire this upward mobility for a little different reason. They want the upward mobility because they don't want to be overtaken by these younger, less experienced Gen Z employees who are entering the workforce. So they also want upward mobility. And so if you take all these folks of the greatest number of people in that workforce, then they're really wanting that upward mobility. So with these research considerations then, developing leaders affects retention in multiple ways. One, they lead better, which keeps great employees. So if one of the greatest reasons people are leaving is because of leadership, as we develop better leaders, we're going to keep those great employees. Another thing that it does is they learn how to uphold a strong, healthy culture. When you start to develop leaders and develop how they lead, you help them develop how to have a healthy, strong culture as well. They are motivated through being more successful. So as they develop and they are successful, they're motivated not just for the career mobility, but because they're making an impact in the place that they want to be working. And then it also allows them to have that upward mobility and career advancement that they're seeking within the organization. A lot of times when folks leave because of their leadership also, it's because they don't see an outlet for upward mobility. They're not getting developed. They don't see any place else they're going to go. And often they're just kind of get bored just doing the ins and outs of their job without seeing where can I go from here. And so leadership development is essential for retention. And I want to propose that one of the most effective ways is to develop leaders through formal education. So by offering a degree pathways, tuition support, organizations not only build stronger leaders, but they also then retain their best talent. And a degree opportunity, it builds those hard to learn skills that you don't often get in the non-formal setting. So a degree meets the needs of all these areas I've mentioned already, of development, of career mobility, of career advancement, of that motivation, of successful inputs, contribution, and it shows that you value that employee. So education benefits differentiate employers as it attracts top talent, but it then also retains that top talent. And so leadership development isn't just about workshops. It isn't just about this short-term training. Rather, it's about cultivating the mindset, the skills, the strategic thinking that AI cannot do. And that often comes through that formal education. Because earning a degree, especially one like SOAR in leadership and management, organizational development, it equips the employee with the skills that are hard to learn organically in that passive on-the-job training manner. So can we learn things on the job? Do we need peer-to-peer? Absolutely, we need those things, but you get to hit a wall. So I've researched and written some on social learning theory, which is about learning through observation. We can learn a lot of things through observation. You think of a child, right? They learn to mimic your facial expressions and things like that, or how to eat or how to hold something. But the higher level learning, you can't really learn from just observation. You can observe your boss and you can say, that's how I want to lead, or, ooh, I don't want to lead like that. But to learn all the problem solving and critical thinking that got to that place or to that action is not observable. And so it's really hard to learn a lot of these really deep skills organically in that on-the-job manner or a passive manner. And so it takes guidance. So skills like these ones I've listed here, critical thinking and decision-making, strategic leadership capabilities, communication and conflict resolution tools, understanding even just how an org works. What are the theories behind how does an org work? How does organizational culture develop? How does it die? How is it shifted? Those sorts of things we just can't learn from AI or passively or just an on-the-job kind of training. It takes a little more of a formal educational outlet to do that. And so one thing that Kevin showed are those key skills that everyone's needing: leadership, communication, management, problem solving. The other one was customer service, which is leadership, communication, and problem solving in one. I see it's operationalized as another category, but it's really through those other things. You can't, those are really hard to learn in a non-formal setting, especially those underlying things that really drive to the output, right? And so does this cost dollars to develop leaders? It does. No one's saying that this isn't something that's going to cost something to the organization, but the ROI is great when you consider the cost of retention issues. And the ROI is great when you consider the greater productivity of retaining your great employees and being able to promote them to the next level, being able to get more out of them and to get better out of them because of that development. And so to summarize then, leadership development, like offering a degree pathway, can have just such strong value-adding implications on retention and the good of your organization.
Wonderful, Kevin. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I have to ask maybe each one of you, because I agree that, I don't think AI could teach us those things, right? And one question I have for all of you is, as you've talked to organizations and you are an organization representing an organization on here, when you have to give training to work alongside AI, what has the response been? Because we are a multi-generational, right, workforce still. Has there been an embracing of learning how to work or how to train to work alongside AI? I'm just curious. What have you heard, or what has been the experience?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So we have was working at the faculty training here on campus with all of our professors, and we have a wide gamut of folks, right? Some who are just joining, they are out of school with their PhD, they're younger, all the way to very much an older garb, if you will, of folks. So the amount of training they've had in AI, the amount of comfortability with AI is at all different ranges. And so that's where I think Reed is absolutely right, where you have to start small, start really diving in, because it's going to be based on your organization and who you have in your organization of where people are landing on their comfortability. But one of the things that just kept coming up is that the outputs from AI are only as good as the human inputs. And so you can put in, one of the professors said, trash in, trash out. And so even what's being input into AI organically as things go in, and it's building more and more repertoire and more algorithms and things to even pull from, that has to be well managed to get great output. And it's not really, it's just dumping, and then the chat, when you have that conversation in AI, is also only as good as what you're asking, how you're asking it, what you're asking for, and then the critical piece of humans again to critically think about the output that you get from AI. And so that's where we go. You can't get away from the human inputs and the critical thinking skills that we have to have, even once we get the list of things or the outputs from AI, or the chat GPT telling us different things, to really sift through it and see, is this right? Is this correct? And really there's a human element woven throughout. And so I would agree that people are all different stages of having to critically think about those inputs, and then having to learn to be those critical thinkers of how you interact with it after it gives you your outputs.
Thank you. Any other thoughts from the panelists on that question?
Yeah, I agree with everything Kevin said. I think from within our team, I can see the difference in work product based on team members' kind of critical thinking and problem solving capabilities. And when they're using AI, the degree to which it really is assisting them in getting to a solution or a product that we're sort of driving towards and working on, versus kind of input in, input out, and really no sort of critical thinking analysis of, is this what I want? What are the queries that I'm putting in order to get the work, sort of the desired outcome as a work assistant, instead of just doing the work. There was also a chat comment early on that I saw that I just wanted to comment on specifically, and that was I think Anita pointing out, sort of, or asking the question around micro learning. We talked about that this morning with a group of manufacturers. It's one industry, but this is coming up in a lot of our industry deep dives we're doing. With the acceleration and change, rapid rate of change within the workplace and knowledge and skill requirements and the blending of roles. I think the big opportunity for higher ed, and in particular, to do with or alongside employers, is kind of micro credentials that accumulate towards credits, which then accumulate towards degrees. And so we see, we talked about this morning, an employer offering training on different functions of the business that result in a higher wage or salary. And so they're accumulating more experience and capabilities for the company, and then they're being rewarded for it. But the degree to which that could be rewarded, not just monetarily, but in credits or credentials, I think is kind of a wave of the future, just because of the rate of change. It cannot wait for, a 4-year degree process to sort of occur.
Very interesting. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Any other commentary? All right, I know we're almost out of time. One thing I wanted to quickly wrap up with is, you've heard a discussion quite a bit about SOAR and innovation today. And I wanted to just quickly share that one of the things that Cornerstone has done is designed a learning platform to address the durable skills that are needed to help develop the leadership and move your teams forward in terms of providing the skill set that is needed as you think about those that might be moving on, fulfilling those gaps in succession, moving your teams forward for future leaders in your company. And so SOAR is the new 100% smartphone-based bachelor's degree in strategic business management. And it is made up of micro bursts of learning. It is self-paced. It is filled with videos, podcasts, professor video recordings, audiobooks, and it is designed to meet students who have had barriers before put in front of them that did not allow them to finish their degree program. And Cornerstone, with industry partners from West Michigan, have put together a degree program and a way to remove those barriers to allow individuals to finally earn a degree that is flexible, that is convenient, that is highly affordable, so that they can earn that education and that you as an employer can offer an educational benefit that will change the trajectory of their life and also give you the opportunity to retain skilled employees and be that employer of choice in the West Michigan area. So I'm just sharing with you a little bit about the SOAR program and how it has been really developed to meet those durable skill gaps and really designed to help your employees become those strategic thinkers, become those leaders with confidence, to have those in-demand skills. And so we want to be able to share this with you, to know that there is this option out there for you to offer this employee benefit, that it is extremely affordable for a private education with financial assistance. And we have 170 students already in the program, as you can hear from Gordon Food Service, who are doing wonderful things in their organization and in the community. And if it's something you would be interested in learning more about, please do reach out to us. We are happy to share this information with you and continue to spread the good word. So I want to thank again all of our guest panelists, to Dr. Hall, to Kevin Stotts, to Jayme Isley, to Reed Goff. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today with our community about how we can continue to advance our leaders alongside automation and continue to grow our communities for the good. So thank you all for joining us. We look forward to sharing the video and webinar with you on YouTube. Have a great afternoon, everybody.